It was a typical day after school, or so I thought. As I entered the residence, the silence was conspicuous. I presumed I had the premises to myself, but then I heard a sound, faint and almost like a whisper. Intrigued, I followed the sound down the hallway. My stepmother's door was slightly ajar. I knew I shouldn't look, but something compelled me to go in. I saw her, Aurora. It was an ordinary day after school. I entered the house and immediately noticed that the atmosphere was unusual. The silence was uncharacteristically palpable. I assumed that I had the place to myself, but then I heard a faint sound, almost like a whisper. Curious, I followed the sound down the hallway. I stopped at my stepmother's door, which was slightly ajar. I knew I shouldn't look, but I couldn't help but pause. Peeking inside, I saw her, Aurora. She was lost in her own world, completely unaware of my presence. I caught my breath as I realized what I was witnessing. She glanced up and saw me for a moment. I felt a surge of fear, thinking she would be furious, but instead, her gaze was calm and almost inviting. "Come in," she said softly, her voice tinged with warmth. My feet moved on their own, carrying me into the room. I sat on the edge of her bed, and the air between us felt electric. I was lost in my own thoughts, unaware of her presence. I caught my breath when I realized what I was witnessing. She glanced up and saw me for a moment. I felt a sense of apprehension, thinking she would be angry, but her gaze was calm and inviting. "Come in," she said softly, her voice tinged with warmth. I felt my feet move on their own, carrying me into the room. I sat on the edge of her bed. The air between us was thick with tension. Aurora's touch was gentle yet deliberate as she guided my hand. Each motion felt electric, every second charged with emotions I couldn't fully comprehend. Her eyes never left mine, and in that moment it felt as though the world had stopped. She whispered softly, asking if I was okay. I nodded, unable to speak or touch her, leaving me breathless. The connection between us was electric. The atmosphere was electric. Aurora's touch was deliberate, guiding my hand with a steady yet sensitive hand. Each movement was charged with emotions, and I felt a sense of overwhelming intensity. Her eyes never left mine, and in that moment it felt as though the world had stopped. She whispered softly, asking if I was okay. I nodded, unable to speak or touch her, and this connection between us was undeniable. It was an unspoken understanding that blurred the lines of what was right and wrong. Over the following days, we avoided addressing what had happened, but the tension lingered, growing stronger each time we were near each other. One evening, while watching a movie, her hand brushed against mine. That small touch reignited the feelings we had tried to suppress. "We need to talk, Aurora." The tension between us was palpable. One evening, while watching a movie, her hand brushed against mine, reigniting the feelings we had tried to suppress. "Finally," she said, her voice steady but soft, "we need to talk." We confessed everything. The confusion, the guilt, and the undeniable pull between us. It wasn't just physical. It was something deeper, something we couldn't ignore. Our connection grew in secret. Hidden glances, fleeting touches, and whispered words became our norm. However, the weight of our secret bore down on us each time we were near each other. One close call was when my father came home early. After a period of introspection, we came to the conclusion that our bond was not just physical but also emotional. We decided to come forward and address the situation, which led to a conversation with my father. The discussion was emotional, and it became clear that our relationship was not as simple as it seemed. Over time, we found ourselves in situations that highlighted the risks of our actions. One evening, after a disagreement, I found myself driving without a clear destination. The next morning, I returned to Aurora's residence. She appeared tired and worried, and without any explicit communication, we embraced each other and apologized for the pain we had caused. As time passed, we continued to work through the challenges and navigate the complexities of our relationship. As time passed, our connection deepened, and we learned to navigate our dual roles in public and our personal lives in private. However, we recognized that this could not last indefinitely. A year after that pivotal day, we decided it was time to face the consequences of our actions. We met with my father and told him everything. The conversation was emotional, filled with tears, anger, and silence. Over the course of several months, our relationship deepened as we learned to navigate our dual lives in public and our personal lives in private. However, we recognized that this could not continue indefinitely. A year after that fateful day, we decided it was time to face the consequences of our choices. We met with my father and told him everything. The conversation was emotional, and there were moments of silence, but we remained strong. Aurora's hand remained firmly in mine. The road ahead was uncertain, filled with challenges and broken trust to mend. However, as I looked at Aurora, the love in her eyes reassured me that we could face anything together. Despite the pain and sacrifices, I wouldn't change a thing. That moment, as difficult as it was, brought us to a love that was deeper than anything I could have imagined.